and I fervently hope for your understanding. Anyway, we will not let this day pass without sending this video lecture that I am currently making for you to at least watch and study para kahit papaano, kahit di tayo nag-meet kanina, ay may papanoorin at pag-aaralan pa rin kayo. Okay, so we're now down to chapter 4, the last chapter for the midterm examination coverage. And we are very ready to take the examination kasi last na ito and we still have the whole week next week. Perhaps we'll spend that for review or baka mag-advance na tayo for chapter 5 before your midterm examination. Okay, so chapter 4, we have been discussing how ethics plays a very important role in information technology because we are bound to really think twice first before clicking or doing something over the internet, and we are bounded with sets of guidelines and principles and do's and don'ts that we have to follow, especially when we are connected to the internet. So when we publish something, when we create something, download, upload, or anything, any activity that is offered by the internet services, there are sets of guidelines and there are do's and don'ts that we have to follow. Okay, and that is what we're going to talk about in this chapter, overview of ethics. So this module will discuss the overview of ethics by defining ethics, first of all, identifying values and attitude anchored to ethics, the different ethical principles and its application, as well as the different forms of ethical theories. Okay, at the end of these, students, you guys are expected to, of course, define ethics. Dapat alam nyo na kung anong ibig sabihin after kung mai-discuss sa inyo, values and attitude, discuss the different ethical principles. So we will be enumerating and providing example for each of these ethical principles, providing example of situations and how they can be applicable to each of those situations. And then number 3, differentiate the forms of ethical theory. So aside from ethical principles, we also have different forms of ethical theories that we are going to discuss this afternoon. Okay, so first of all, what is ethics? It's the set of standards of right and wrong that govern human behavior. So it involves recommending concepts of what humans ought to do. It can also refer to as a set of accepted beliefs of individual or group of people based on morals that control human behavior. So ethics can be seen in the form of codes of conduct implemented personally or by organizations. So ethics has something to do with human behavior and it has direct impact on human values and attitudes. So values can contribute to determine appropriate standard behavior and attitude as manifested in person's behavior. Okay, so ethics class is not a matter of preference. It's actually a matter of right and wrong. So in our day-to-day encounter, in our daily life, we are faced with multiple situations that we need to deal that calls for our ethical standards. So, hindi mo namamalayan. For example, naglalakad ka dyan, tapos may nahulog na wallet, ayan, may apply mo na dyan yung ethical standard mo, yung ethics mo. Pupulutin ko ba 'to at ibabalik ko doon sa nakalaglag or sa akin na 'to, thank you Lord, 'di ba? Gano'n na lang, thank you Lord, oh, this is a blessing from above, gano'n. 'Pag nakapulot ka ng wallet sabihin mo, thank you Lord, blessing from above, eh, nakita mo na nga sa harap mo kung sino yung nagkahulog. All you have to do is to pick it up and inform the person in front of you that he, fell his wallet, 'di ba? Or his wallet fell. Okay, so I'm sure na you already have an idea about what ethics is kasi na-discuss naman natin yan sa mga previous discussions natin, especially yung sa privacy, one's privacy, yung doon sa pagkuha mo ng video tapos upload mo na ginawa mo ng material mo na hindi naman dapat gano'n, so privacy, piracy, etc. So lahat yun ay sakop ng ethics, ethical standard ng isang tao na ito nililimitahan natin or that's actually the general view of ethics. Pero when it comes to information technology na subject natin, living in the IT era, syempre, ang mga may kinalaman sa ethics, yung mga privacy ng isang tao, yung sa piracy, yung sa plagiarism, or etc. Anything or any activities or offers ng internet. Okay, so we're done with ethics. Now we proceed to the word or the term values. It can simply be defined as something that is worthy or important to an individual. So what is important to you? These values are actually the things that you are living by. These are gotten from home or from how your parents have raised you, from how your parents have inculcated these things onto you. Ayan, yung kung paano ka pinalaki ng mga magulang mo, ano yung mga pinapahalagahan nila sa buhay na in-impart nila sa'yo na mga anak nila. Ayan. So person's belief affects evaluative judgments about what is right or desirable. So personal character will develop. People think and behave determined by things that a person regard as good or right. Some examples of values are respect, honesty, personal responsibility, or kindness. Okay, balik lang tayo ng konti doon sa first paragraph natin under the definition of ethics. Sabi niya kasi dito, values can contribute to determine appropriate standard behavior. So in other words, values can contribute to one's ethical standard or affects one's ethical standard. Kung ano yung mga pinapahalagahan ng isang tao, it surely affects their decisions in life. For example, yung respect to elderly, ayan. For example, yun ang pinapahalagahang value ng isang tao, ng ikaw na nakikinig sa akin ngayon. Sa ethics mo later on, mag-provide tayo ng situation, um, may taong tumatawid sa kalsada na matanda. So aside from respect, it can actually also fall under kindness kasi kung tutuusin, hindi mo naman responsibility yun ng isang traffic enforcer, for example, na itawid yung matanda doon sa pedestrian lane or doon sa kalsada. Pero dahil ikaw ay may pinapahalagahang values na tinatawag nating kindness, tutulungan mo yung matanda sa pagtawid. Okay? So gano'n. Ano yung mga pinapahalagahan ninyo na nakuha ninyo from your parents o mga pinapahalagahan ninyo within your homes? Kasi values usually ay nakukuha sa loob ng bahay. Okay? And then last terminology here, before we proceed to your ethical principles, attitude muna. It refers to person's strong belief or feeling towards people, things, and situations. So attitude can be positive or negative, and it can influence the behavior of those around them. Example of positive and negative attitudes are confident, or confidence, sapat noon ito, cooperation, yan, consideration, yung pagiging cheerful, o yan, unfriendly, friendly, o syempre ang attitude both positive and negative. Those three first mentioned na attitudes dito ay positive kasi confident siya, cooperative siya, considerate siya, and cheerful siya. Apat pala. May unfriendly rin, may selfish, may snobby, and the like. So attitude can be both positive and negative. Okay, so I hope these three are clear: ethics, values, and attitude. Now we proceed to your ethical principles. Ethical principles naman is the basis of ethical analysis and serves as the viewpoints in making decisions. So these are the ethical recommendations and evaluations of human actions in justifying judgments. Okay, so ito yung mga nakakatulong sa pagdedesisyon ng isang tao. Mga ethical principles natin. They justify judgments of people or the decisions that people make. It determines the considerations that should be weighed in decision-making or judgment. So the different ethical principles are beneficence, least harm, respect for autonomy, and justice. Kumbaga, ang ethical principles natin ay, if we are to give it a practical terminology, parang yan yung criteria mo, okay, bago ka nagdedesisyon. Unahin natin sa beneficence. It refers to an act of charity, mercy, and kindness with a strong connotation of doing good to others, including moral obligations. So a person's duty to act in the best interests and well-being of the patient, client, or resident. This action can be in the form of kindness, mercy, and or charity, with implication of doing good to others and moral obligation. However, doing more than is required or beyond what is obligatory is called exceptional beneficence or classified as supererogatory. For example, providing an extra benefit to clients that exceeds to the required services. Ayan, beneficence ang tawag doon kapag hindi mo naman na responsibility or hindi naman siya obligatory, hindi siya obligation, pero ginagawa mo pa rin katulad ng pag-provide ng benefit sa mga clients na hindi nasakop ng, required services nila. So, beneficence ang tawag doon. Okay, list harm or non-maleficence, a person's duty to do no harm, to protect others from harm, and to maintain one's professional competence. It is like beneficence, except that it can be applied to situations in which neither choice is beneficial, where a person should choose to do the least harm possible and to do harm to the fewest people. A person has a larger responsibility to simply walk past other person rather than to make derogatory remarks about that person. So sa least harm, sabi niya parang katulad lang sa beneficence na you have to do good to a person, pero dito kasi parang choosing between two negatives. Siyempre kung ikaw ay torn between choosing two negatives, anong pipiliin mo? Siyempre yung yung lesser negative, ibig sabihin lesser evil. Pareho silang negative pero yung isa konting negative lang, yung isa malalang negative. So ang pipiliin mo ay yung, ah hindi malalang negative. For example, ayaw mo ang isang tao, imbis na pagsalitaan mo siya ng masasakit, sabi niya, instead of making derogatory remarks to that person that you hate, for example, pwede ka na lang na i-ignore mo na lang siya. Simply walk past other person. Ibig sabihin, lagpasan mo na lang, wag na lang pansinin, daanan mo na lang. Okay? So, two negatives, kasi dinaanan mo lang, hindi mo grinit, negative din naman yun. And then, yung pangalawang negative ay making derogatory remarks. So, alin sa dalawa ang mas malala? Siyempre, yung pag-make ng derogatory remarks over that person. So, mas magandang wag na lang siyang pansinin, wag siyang batiin, kaysa sa pagsalitaan lang masasakit. So, less harm. Choosing the negative that is lesser in harm, that is lesser to cause harm. Okay? And then third, ethical principle natin, respect for autonomy. A person's duty to respect and promote individuals' decision for themselves or apply to their lives in achieving what they believe to be in their best interests. That includes respect for privacy and confidentiality. For example, a patient can choose or decide about their medical treatment. Kumbaga, dito, respect for autonomy, hinahayaan mo ang isang tao na magdesisyon para sa kanyang sarili. Kumbaga, you are respecting his or her boundaries. For buhay niya yan, so siya ang magde-decide. For example, yung patient, you are the doctor, she is the patient, tapos na-diagnose mo siya na kailangan mong operahan, pero dahil katawan niya yun, magde-decide pa rin siya kung papayag siya na operahan mo siya o hindi. So usually ang ginagawa ng mga hospitals or mga doctors, pinagpipirma na lang yung patient na tumatanggi sa mga gano'n na, for example, kailangan ng emergent operation, pero dahil ayaw magpa-opera ng tao, pinagpipirma na lang sila na, ayun, I refuse to undergo an operation, yan, for example. Okay? So, kasi katawan niya pa rin, siya pa rin ang magde-decide kung magpapa-opera siya o hindi. So, respect for autonomy. Autonomous yung authority ng isang tao. Bakit nagkaroon ng authority yung pasyente? Kasi katawan niya yun. Okay? So, siya ang magde-decide kung magpapa-opera siya o hindi. And then lastly, justice or distributive justice. So, all persons involved being of equal moral worth should be treated fairly. Kaya nga justice, may hustisya, equality, everyone should be treated equally and fairly. So ethical decisions should be consistent with the ethical theory, except there is a situation that provide an excuse and justification for an action. For example, a police officer is allowed for overspeeding to arrive in the crime scene immediately and to prevent a person from getting hurt. Okay, so for you not to be confused on this last example of ethical principle, let's provide an example. Actually, meron na dito yung sinasabi nga niya sa police. So sabi dito sa justice, pantay-pantay lahat, equal ang lahat. So police ka man, ordinaryong mamayan ka man, citizen ka man, pantay-pantay ang lahat. Kapagka ang isang lalaki na motorista ay nag-overspeeding, subject to criminal offense siya. Ganon din ang police officer. Kaya lang, distributive justice, may exemption class. Kapagka ang rason naman ni police officer, kaya siya nag-overspeeding, ay kasi merong hinahabol na or kailangan niyang dumating sa isang crime scene immediately para mapigilan ang pagpatay ng isang tao doon sa kanyang biktima, for example, or kung pagpatay worst, pero ang nakalagay dito ay prevent the person from getting hurt. So para hindi na masaktan, madisgrasya yung biktima. So alangan naman na may tumawag doon sa pulis na kailangan yung rumesponde dito dahil tinutukan ng baril ni ganito sa ganyan. So kailangan pumunta dito para mailigtas yung biktima. So na-receive ni police officer yun, nakamotor din siya. O alangan naman na si police officer kasi may batas tayo na bawal ang overspeeding, alangan naman na susundin niya yun, may hinahabol siyang buhay na kailangang iligtas. So sa mga ganung pagkakataon, distributive justice tayo, exempted sila. Kailangan nilang mag-overspeeding, kailangan na lumagpas, minsan pa nga may wangwang para tumagilid yung mga ibang sasakyan sa kalsada para siya yung mauna. Okay? Kasi nga may nirerespondihan siyang crime scene. Okay. Okay, I'm providing examples for you to get it very easily. Okay, now, nasa dulo na tayo. Kung face-to-face na ito, maganda ang discussion kasi sa inyo ko hihingiin yung mga examples. Anyway, pag face-to-face natin, uulitin natin. Ito hindi pwedeng hindi para kayo naman, you have to prepare your own examples na para maging maganda ang discussion natin at para hindi rin kayo lugi. Okay? Now, last one, forms of ethical theories. So, define muna natin what is an ethical theory. Ethical theories are based on ethical principles. Okay, so natapos natin yung ethical principles, beneficence, maleficence, yung distributive justice, etc. Sabi niya, ang ethical theories ay nakabase doon sa mga nauna nating pinag-aralan na ethical principles such as your justice, respect for autonomy, least harm, and beneficence. Okay? Okay, so dito na tayo sa ethical theories. Okay. Ethical theories are based on ethical principles that points out different aspects of an ethical conflict and serves as guide to ethically correct resolution that is not beyond the ethical theory guidelines. So the choice of a person in ethical theory is commonly based on their experiences. So there are 4 categories of ethical theory that includes deontology, utilitarianism, rights, and virtue. Okay, ang chapter 5 kasi class, in connection siya sa chapter 4, mas specified na sa chapter 5 yung pinag-aaralan natin na ethics. Ililimit na siya sa technology. Dito sa chapter 4, overview siya. Ibig sabihin, we are discussing ethics in general. Actually, itong mga concepts dito, familiar siya sa akin kasi nagturo ako ng ethics last semester at ito yung mga content nun. Okay, so may ethics tayo sa living in the IT era. Actually, dapat nga sa lahat ng subject meron, for example, in English or in grammar or walang plagiarism, etc. Okay, now, ayan. So, malinaw ang ethical theories. Ngayon, pumunta tayo sa 4 na uri niya. Una, deontology, a category of ethical theory stating that people should adhere to their obligations and duties when performing decision-making in an ethical conflict. Upholding one's duty is considered ethically correct, where a person follows his or her obligations to another individual or group of people. A deontologist produces consistent decisions since they will be based on individual set of duties. So the flaw of this theory is that there is no rationality or logical basis for deciding an individual's duties. The reasons why people chose to make it as their duty is unknown. Another flaw is the conflict on duties and concern with the welfare of others. For example, a person's duty is to attend a meeting on time and the situation of this person is running late. How is this person supposed to drive? Speeding breaks his or her duty in the society, and on the other hand, he or she will arrive at the meeting late that will not fulfill his or her duty. Okay, so clue word nyo dito sa deontology, it's a matter of duty, pero kasi ang drawback niya, parang ang isang tao ay gumagawa ng kabutihan na nakapattern doon sa kanyang obligasyon o kaya doon sa kanyang duty. For example, paggising ng maaga para makapunta sa trabaho ng maaga. So, deontology yun. Okay? Parang basehan niya para sa paggawa ng kabutihan or ng ethical behavior or action. Ang conflict nga lang niya dito, sabi niya, paano raw kapag ayun nga, nagmamadali na siya para makaresponde siya dun sa duty niya, tapos may na-break naman siyang isang duty pa. So actually, it's a little easier to answer na hindi niya kailangan magmadali, like speeding, yung hindi niya kailangan mag-commit ng speeding kung sana ay nagising siya ng maaga. It will always fall back to, nagre-record ako, teka lang. Sige mo. It will always fall back to, walang tao doon, ma'am. Hello.
Sabi ni Sir,
Sige.
pinatulong ko sa
Sige, thank you, ma'am.
ma'am, may pwede ka share na po ba ito?
Ano?
Ano to, reimbursement po ba o liquidation? Kasi hindi niyo sinabi sa akin po.
Ay, ano? Kay Ma'am Rebecca ito. Binigay ko ito kay ma'am.
Opo, hindi niyo sinabi sa akin po ano reimbursement po ba o liquidation?
Ano ba ito?
Yan yung sa TR, pair.
Ay, opo. Hindi kayo, si Ma'am Rebecca nag-note po dito na ang kailangan lang yung pre- and post-inspection.
Pero ito reimbursement po, sino po
Oo, reimbursement.
kailang okay na po yan. Ang bali
Kay Ma'am Angie na lang.
kay Ma'am Angie, pero po pa kayo sa kanya ng pwede cash voucher.
Wala akong nilagay dito nun, sir.
Wala po.
Kay Ma'am.
Yan lang po.
Cash voucher.
Opo. Sa kanya po.
Tapos kay Ma'am Angie na. Okay na ito, ano po. Binigay ko.
Pero yung cash voucher, di ba, papipirman niyo pa yung kayo. Yun lang po.
Sige, sige.
Kasi hindi nasabi sa akin liquidation pa rin.
Sige po. Reimbursement ito, so pati cash voucher pa. Sige po, thank you. Okay, let's continue. Sorry about that. Okay, so nasaan na tayo? Sabi niya, speeding breaks his or her duty. Ayan. It will always fall back to, bakit? Kasi hindi nagising ng maaga. So, kung alam niyo ang duty niya ay makapunta doon sa meeting ng maaga, di sana gumising ng maaga para hindi nag-speeding, hindi nag-traffic, di ba? Hindi nag-suffer sa traffic jam sa kalsada. So, it will always fall back to how you can make a solution to respond to your duty, deontology. So yung ano niya, yung drawback niya or disadvantage or negative comment ng mga ilan patungkol sa theory na ito ay madali naman siyang rasonan or madali naman siyang i-rationalize ulit. Okay, second one, utilitarianism. It is founded on one's ability to predict the consequences of an action, and for utilitarian, the ethically correct choice is the option that yields the greatest benefit to the most people. It compares predicted solutions and determine the choice which is more beneficial for more people. So, utilitarianism, ibig sabihin, kung mas marami ang mas makikinabang, doon ka. Okay? Noong pandemic or for example sa zombie series, ayan, sa zombie series muna, wag muna yung sa katotohanan, doon muna tayo sa fiction na. Okay, zombie series na movie for example, may 5 or 7 o siguro sabihin natin 100 na infected ng virus, tapos sa city na yun ay meron pang thousands na hindi infected, tapos walang gamot para doon sa virus, para doon sa mga na-infect, doon sa mga naging zombie na. So, yung 100, ang ginagawa sa movies, binobomba sila, pinapatay sila, para iligtas yung thousands na hindi pa infected. Utilitarianism, choosing the majority, okay? Sabi niya, yielding the greatest benefit to the most people, most number of people. Okay, so there are 2 types. Number 1, act utilitarianism, and then second one is rule utilitarianism. So for act utilitarianism, it conforms to the definition of utilitarianism, which sticks to actions that benefit the greatest number of people, regardless of personal sentiments or society restraints, such as laws. Okay, yun yung act utilitarianism natin. Nagko-confirm siya sa kung ano ang ibig sabihin ng utilitarianism, which sticks to actions that benefit the greatest number of people, regardless of personal sentiments or society restraints such as laws. Parang, for example, yung batas na bawal pumatay, ayan. So sabi niya, regardless, basta ang concern ng act utilitarianism ay kapag marami ang makikinabang, marami ang magbe-benefit, yun ang gagawin mo, doon naka-pattern ang decision mo. So kung doon sa zombie series natin, patayin yung 100 para iligtas yung thousands, Yun ang kanilang gagawin. Okay, rule utilitarianism naman. Actions are concerned with fairness and takes law into account. It seeks to benefit the most people, however, through the fairest and most just means available. It values justice as well as beneficence at the same time. So sa rule utilitarianism, this is more positive, I would say, than act utilitarianism. Kasi yung act utilitarianism, hindi na niya kinukonsider ang personal sentiments at mga batas. Basta ang concern niya lang ay para iligtas ang mas marami kaysa doon sa kokonti. Okay, sa rule utilitarianism naman, let's take that example for act utilitarianism once more. So yun pa rin, zombie series pa rin. Doon sa 100, for example, na infected ng virus na yun, hindi nila agad papatayin. Hanggat maaari, dadaan pa sila sa just means available. Ano pa yung mga means? Pwede naman silang i-contain na lang, ikulong, or hanggat sa maka-develop ang mga scientists ng vaccine. So, wag muna silang papatayin, pero i-contain muna sila o i-isolate sila para hindi sila makahawa o basta kontrolado mo yung 100 as long as controlled mo sila at hindi sila makapang-infect pa ng iba, ay wag mo silang papatayin, okay? Fairest and most just means available. Kasi yung mga zombie na yun, for example, ay tao pa rin at baka kung maka-develop ng cure ang mga scientists at in-inject sa kanila, bumalik sila sa kanilang mga normal state. So, ganun ang rule utilitarianism. Yung desisyon ng government, for example, yung morality ng government ay nakapattern sa ethical theory na ito. Okay? Tapos na tayo sa deontology and utilitarianism. Act and rule utilitarian have disadvantages, although life experience can be applied in predicting outcomes. It is not certain that these predictions are accurate. This flaw can lead to unexpected results and the decision maker appear unethical. So another issue of utilitarian decision makers is the ability to assess different sorts of outcomes on a similar scale. It is also difficult to compare tangible gains to intangible gains, such as money and happiness, since their attributes differ so drastically. Achieving the maximum good is the concern of act utilitarian. Consequently, one individual's right may break the terms to benefit a greater number of people. This type of utilitarianism is not always concerned with autonomy, beneficence, and or justice for an individual if persecuting leads to a solution that benefits majority of people. Ayan ang sinasabi ko sa inyo, yung sa act utilitarian. Sabi niya, if persecuting leads to a solution that benefits majority of people. So kahit mag-persecute ka na, kahit bumatay ka na, kung ang result naman yun ay pagligtas sa mas maraming tao, sa majority of people, mas makikinabang yung mga mas marami, ay mas maganda yun, mas okay yun. Yun ang sinusunod ng act utilitarianism. Okay? So another challenge for act utilitarianism is when an individual faces sudden changes in experience in the set of conditions that can lead to changes in the decision. So the possibility of conflicting rules occurs in rule utilitarianism. It may encounter conflicting ideas about what is ethically correct that leads to no ethically correct answer. For example, the scenario of running late in the meeting. An individual may believe that following the law would benefit society, and at the same time, he or she may also believe that arriving on time in the meeting is ethically correct since it also benefits the society. Pero again, hindi naman sana siya mag-undergo sa dilemma na yan sa pagpili kung ang susundin niya bang batas ay yung sa tarapiko o yung batas sa kanilang trabaho na kailangan niyang umattend sa tamang oras ng maaga. Hindi naman sana siya mapupunta sa sitwasyon na yan kung ayun nga, kung ginawa niya na gumising ng maaga kasi alam niya nga duty nga niya na wag ma-late doon sa kanyang meeting. Duty niya rin na wag lumabag sa batas trapiko. Okay? All right, rights. The ethical theory that based on rights are the rights that established by a society or are the rights that are established by a society and are given the highest priority and protected. So when the rights were endorsed by a large population, it is considered valid and ethically correct. Rights can also be granted to others if they have the ability and resources. So on a larger scale, this theory has major complication. Understanding the characteristics of a right in the society is a must, and the society must determine what rights it wants to sustain and give to its citizens. To be able to do that, they must decide what is the ethical priorities are and the society's goals. Hence, to make the rights theory useful, it must be used concurrently with another ethical theory that explain the goals of the society constantly. For example, upholding the right of religion was one of the goals of society, and this right was upheld in the Constitution. Then people have the right to choose their religion. Okay. Yung right na tinutukoy dito, rights na tinutukoy dito, ito yung mga karapatan ninyo, karapatan natin, karapatang pantao. So, karapatan natin na mamuhay, kaya may batas tayo na bawal pumatay. Karapatan natin na ikasal sa isang tao, kaya may batas na ayun sa marriage o yung bawal maki-appeal et cetera na patungkol sa marriage et cetera. Okay, ano pa? Karapatan sa edukasyon should be, pero 'di ba parang more of privilege, although meron naman tayong batas na inclusive education o et cetera na dapat ina-accept sa paaralan lahat regardless of race, age, gender. Ayan. So, karapatan, rights, karapatang pantao. And lastly, virtue. The virtue ethical theory judges the character of a person rather than an action that may veer from the person's normal behavior. So when rating an unusual behavior that considered unethical, they must consider the person's reputation, morals, and motivation. For example, if a person plagiarized a part of a paper that was subsequently discovered by a peer, the peer will grasp the person's character and will criticize the person accordingly. If the plagiarizer typically respects the rules and is well liked by his peers, the peer who comes across the plagiarized paper may be able to assess his friend more leniently. Perhaps the researcher had a late night and just forgot to properly cite his or her source. So a person with a reputation for academic misconduct, on the other hand, is more likely to be evaluated harshly for plagiarizing due to a persistent history of unethical activity. The change in a person's moral character is not taken into account, which is a drawback of this form of ethical theory. Okay, ano ba yung mga pinanghahawakan ninyong mga virtues? Ayan, virtue has something to do with one's reputation, morals, and motivation. Sometimes values din, yung mga pinapahalagahan ninyo sa buhay na nagiging virtue nyo na. Okay? Ayan. So, pag ang isang tao, ang pinapahalagahan niyang virtue ay honesty, okay, or patience, etc. Okay. Ayan, siyempre yun din yung magiging anchor niya or gagamitin niya para, sa kaniyang pagdedesisyon o sa kaniyang, behavior or actions later on. Siyempre kung ang pinapahalagahan niya ay honesty, definitely hindi yan magpe-plagiarize, okay? Alright. So medyo interrelated with one another yung mga terminologies natin dito, sana hindi kayo nalito. Okay, and very interesting as usual ang ethics natin. Virtue, rights, utilitarianism, deontology, ethic, and then your ethical theories. Okay, that is it for this afternoon class. I hope you have learned a thing or two. Please just send screenshot that you have watched and studied this. I will just make an activity in the MS Teams for you to do to make sure that you will study this. So that's it for this afternoon. Goodbye, have a good day, and let's hope to meet face to face next week.